Have you ever wondered if aging means giving up on some of life's most intimate joys? Does the world tell you that with every passing year, your desires, your passions, and your connections should quietly fade away? What if I told you that everything you've heard about growing older and losing touch with these vital parts of life is not only untrue, but entirely misleading? Today, I invite you to explore a truth that society often shies away from: the evolution of intimacy, connection, and desire as we age. This video isn't just about breaking the silence. It's about rediscovering the beauty and richness that comes with embracing your life fully, no matter your age. By the end of this video, you'll gain profound insights into how intimacy transforms with time into something more meaningful and fulfilling, the hidden truths about desire in later life that society often overlooks, a story of courage and self-discovery that will inspire you to embrace your own journey. Through the remarkable tale of Dona Clara, a woman who defies every stereotype about aging, we will unravel how life continues to offer joy, passion, and connection, even in ways you might never have imagined. Her story holds lessons that could change how you see yourself, your body, and your relationships. Stay with us until the end to uncover wisdom that might just transform how you view growing older. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's dive in. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. Today, I invite you to confront a truth we rarely explore, a truth wrapped in layers of stigma and silence. Pleasure, its persistence, its evolution, and its profound significance as we age. Too often, society turns its gaze away from this topic, choosing instead to portray aging as a slow fading into irrelevance. We speak in hushed tones about the body's changes, but we almost never acknowledge that intimacy, connection, and desire are not extinguished by time. They do not disappear. They deepen, transform, and reveal new dimensions of human experience. Let me take you on a journey into this uncharted territory through the story of a remarkable woman. Her name is Dona Clara. She is 85 years old, but her age is not what defines her. It is her wisdom, her vitality, and the way she inhabits her life with unapologetic authenticity. This is not just her story. It is a reflection of the truths we often ignore, truths about self-love, acceptance, and the enduring power of connection. Imagine meeting Dona Clara for the first time. Her presence feels like stepping into sunlight on a cold day. She radiates warmth and assurance with a smile that seems to say, "Everything will be okay. You are safe here." Her eyes are mesmerizing, not because of their color or shape, but because of the stories they carry. Stories of love, loss, triumph, and transformation. When she speaks, her voice, soft yet resolute, carries the weight of someone who has lived fully, someone who has made peace with both her scars and her joys. Dona Clara's life has been anything but ordinary. She has loved fiercely and lost deeply. She has raised children, wiped their tears, celebrated their triumphs, and mourned the losses of those she held closest. The years have not been easy, but each challenge, each heartbreak, has added a layer of richness to her soul. Where others might see wrinkles and gray hair, those who truly know her see resilience, grace, and a capacity for joy that refuses to be dimmed by time. Her home, a cozy sanctuary filled with books, photographs, and the scent of fresh herbs, is a place where people come not just to visit but to feel understood. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers are drawn to her magnetic spirit. They come seeking advice, comfort, or simply the chance to sit in her presence and listen to her stories. And what stories they are! Tales of a world that was, of lessons learned the hard way, and of truths that resonate across generations. But what few people know about Dona Clara, what even her closest confidants might not suspect, is the secret she carries with quiet dignity. She has not lost her connection to her body or her desires. Despite the passing years, she remains deeply in tune with the essence of who she is, a woman who feels, loves, and yes, desires. She has discovered what many fear to admit, that pleasure does not vanish with age. It evolves, becoming less about fleeting moments and more about a profound connection to oneself and others. One person who has always been captivated by Dona Clara's spirit is Andres, a young man of 25 who has known her for most of his life. To Andres, she is more than a neighbor or an elder. She is a beacon of wisdom and strength. He grew up sitting at her feet, listening to her tales, and laughing at her wit. Over the years, she became a source of guidance, someone he turned to when life felt too big, too overwhelming. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Now, as a young man grappling with questions of his own, Andres finds himself facing a dilemma. There is something he wants to ask Dona Clara, something that has been gnawing at him for weeks. It's a question that feels too personal, too taboo, yet he knows that if anyone can give him an honest answer, it's her. One sunny afternoon, over their usual tea, Andres gathers his courage. The room is filled with the comforting clink of porcelain cups and the aroma of chamomile. Dona Clara sits across from him, her hands cradling her cup, her eyes watching him with quiet curiosity. Andres shifts in his seat, his hands fidgeting nervously. Finally, he takes a deep breath and speaks. "Dona Clara," he begins, his voice trembling slightly. "Can I ask you something? It's kind of personal." She sets her cup down gently, her expression softening into one of encouragement. "Of course, Andres," she replies. "Ask me anything." Andres hesitates for a moment, his words caught in his throat. Then, with a rush of courage, he asks the question that has been haunting him. It is a question about intimacy, about connection, about the human experience that transcends age but is rarely discussed openly. Dona Clara listens intently, her face thoughtful but unflinching. When he finishes, she leans back slightly, her gaze steady. What she shares next is not just an answer, it is a revelation. She speaks of her own journey, of the ways she has come to understand her body and her desires over the years. She speaks of the power of intimacy, not just with others, but with oneself. She tells Andres that aging is not a closing chapter but an opportunity to write a new one where pleasure is redefined and cherished in ways that youth could never imagine. Her words are a balm to Andres' soul, a reminder that life's most beautiful experiences are not confined to any one stage but are available to those who are willing to embrace them with an open heart. As she speaks, Andres feels a profound shift within himself. He sees her not just as a wise elder but as a living testament to the richness of life, a reminder that age is not a barrier to joy but a gateway to deeper truths. And in that moment, over tea and shared confidences, two souls connect across generations, united by the timeless human need to understand, to feel, and to be whole. "Dona Clara," Andres began hesitantly, his voice wavering, "there's something I can't stop thinking about. I don't know if it's strange to ask, but is it normal to still have sexual desires in old age? It's not something people talk about. I've always heard that as we age, those feelings disappear." Dona Clara looked at him with a steady, gentle gaze, the corners of her lips curving into a knowing smile. She took her time before responding, allowing his words to settle between them. "Andres," she said softly, "how many young people carry that very same question in their hearts? And how many older people, too, wonder in silence, afraid to ask? It's curious, isn't it, how society assumes that once we reach a certain age, we stop feeling, stop yearning, stop being human. But let me tell you a truth, my dear, life, in all its beautiful, messy, and powerful forms, continues to flow through us, even as the body changes." Her words hung in the air, and Andres felt a mix of relief and curiosity. Surprised by her openness, he leaned forward, eager to hear more. Dona Clara continued, her tone calm yet imbued with a quiet strength. "Let me tell you a story," she said, her voice like a warm embrace. "Perhaps it will help you understand better." She placed her cup of tea on the table and folded her hands in her lap, her eyes growing distant as she reached into the vault of her memories. I remember when I turned 60, she began, her voice soft and reflective. Something in me began to change, but not in the way you might expect. At first, it was subtle, a whisper from my body, as if it were trying to tell me that not everything was over. You see, I had always believed, as many do, that sexuality in old age was a closed chapter, a door that quietly shuts without you even realizing it. I thought that desire would simply fade away, leaving behind nothing but a memory. But that wasn't the case. She paused, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of her teacup. At 60, I began to notice things about myself that surprised me. My body, though older, still had something to say, something that needed to be heard. It wasn't the fiery passion of my youth. No, it was something different, gentler, steadier, but no less real. It was like a quiet flame, burning softly but persistently. I began to feel my skin respond to the world around me, to the brush of fabric, the warmth of sunlight. My emotions still flowed, and to my astonishment, I started to explore a part of myself I had never truly known. It was as if I were rediscovering my own body, but this time with a calmness and wisdom I didn't have before. Andrés sat captivated, his attention riveted on her every word. He could feel the weight of her story, the vulnerability in her voice, and the courage it took to share something so personal. She smiled warmly at him and continued. One day, a dear friend of mine, someone I trusted deeply, shared a piece of wisdom I'll never forget. She said, "Clara, we never stop being women. We never stop desiring. Desire isn't something the years take away. It's something that transforms, just as we do." And she was absolutely right. Her expression softened, and she leaned back slightly, as if allowing the memories to wash over her. That realization was like a light breaking through the darkness. I began to see that even with the wrinkles on my face and the changes in my body, I was still a woman, sensual, vibrant, and alive. But for a long time, I felt ashamed of those feelings. I thought to myself, what's wrong with me? Why am I still feeling this way when I'm supposed to be past such things? Her voice grew quieter, tinged with emotion. But one day, I decided I couldn't keep denying what I felt. I realized that shame was something imposed on me, not something that truly belonged to me. So I began to listen to my body, to rediscover it, to explore this new stage of my life. In those private, intimate moments with myself, I learned something extraordinary. Her eyes met Andrés's, and for a moment, he felt the depth of her wisdom as if it were being passed directly to him. I learned that my ability to enjoy hadn't disappeared. It had become wiser, more refined. I discovered that pleasure wasn't just about the body. It was about the mind, the spirit, and the connection I had with myself. And in embracing that, Andrés, I found a new kind of freedom. Andrés remained silent, the weight of her story settling over him like a heavy but comforting blanket. He thought about her courage, her honesty, and the way she had reframed something he had always assumed was taboo. Finally, he spoke, his voice quiet but filled with curiosity. "Weren't you afraid, Dona Clara? I mean, weren't you scared of what others might think of you, or even how you might see yourself? It's not easy to talk about these things, especially at your age." Dona Clara let out a soft laugh, her eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and understanding. "Oh, Andrés," she said, "fear is always with us, isn't it? When we're young, we fear failure, rejection, and the unknown. As we age, the fears evolve, but they never truly disappear. Yes, I was afraid of judgment, afraid of misunderstanding, and, perhaps most of all, afraid of confronting my own reflection and wondering if I was still allowed to feel this way. But do you know what I realized?" She leaned forward, her voice lowering as if to share a secret. "I realized that the greatest tragedy of all is not growing old. It's living a life dictated by fear. The people who truly love you, Andrés, the ones who see your soul and not just the surface, will never judge you for embracing your humanity. And those who might, well, they were never meant to be part of your journey." Her words hit Andres like a revelation, and he felt a shift within himself, as if her wisdom had unlocked a door he hadn't even known was there. "You're right," he murmured, almost to himself. "Fear holds us back from so much." Dona Clara smiled, her expression both kind and firm. "It does, Andres. But only if we let it. Remember this, my dear, aging is not the closing of a chapter. It is the beginning of a new one. It is a chance to rediscover yourself, to redefine what it means to live, to love, and to desire. The only limits are the ones we place on ourselves." The two sat in silence for a while, the room filled with the scent of chamomile and the weight of shared understanding. It wasn't an empty silence, it was the kind that follows profound connection, where words are no longer needed. Andres looked at Dona Clara with newfound admiration, seeing not just an elder but a woman who had lived, and continued to live, with courage, grace, and unapologetic authenticity. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. "Thank you, Dona Clara," he said finally, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You've given me so much to think about. I feel lighter, somehow." She reached across the table, placing her hand gently over his. "That's all I ever hope for, Andres, that you think, that you feel, and that you never stop questioning what it means to truly be alive. Life is too precious to live it half-heartedly." And as the afternoon sun filtered through the window, casting golden light over them both, Andres felt a profound gratitude for the conversation they had shared, a conversation that would linger in his heart for years to come. Dona Clara chuckled softly, her laughter a melody of wisdom and warmth. Her eyes, crinkled with decades of smiles and heartache, glimmered with kindness. She rested her hands on the table, the skin lined with the maps of time, yet her touch exuded a quiet strength. "Ah, Andres," she began, her voice gentle yet steady, "of course I felt fear. For a long time, I wondered if what I was experiencing was normal. Society has a peculiar way of telling us how to age, doesn't it? We're taught that as we grow older, our bodies lose their value, that our desires should be tucked away, never spoken of again, as if they no longer matter." She paused, her gaze softening as if the weight of her memories was both a burden and a treasure. We're told that affection, desire, and intimacy are reserved for the young, that after a certain point, our purpose shifts solely to care for others or to quietly fade into the background. But that's the great lie, Andres. The truth that took me years to embrace, is that the body doesn't stop being a body just because it's older. It doesn't stop yearning for touch, connection, or love. It doesn't stop needing care and affection. These things are as much a part of who we are at 80 as they are at 20. Andres leaned forward slightly, captivated by the honesty and vulnerability in her words. Her voice had a way of drawing him in, making the world outside fade until all that mattered was her story. "So, what did you do?" he asked softly, his voice laced with curiosity. "How did you come to terms with those feelings when everyone else seems to pretend they don't exist?" Dona Clara smiled, the kind of smile that could soothe even the most restless soul. "Accepting it was a process, Andres," she admitted. "And it wasn't easy. For years, I wrestled with doubt and shame. I would look at myself in the mirror and wonder if I was allowed to feel the way I did. Society has a way of convincing us that we're no longer whole as we age, that we become fragments of who we once were. But the moment I started to question that, the moment I allowed myself to listen to my own heart and body, I realized that nothing had been taken from me. If anything, I had gained something far more precious, a deeper understanding of myself." Andres sat back in his chair, the weight of her words settling into his chest. "I guess I've always assumed that as people get older, they stop feeling everything. That desire and passion just fade away, like they're parts of life that belong to the past. But what you're saying, it's the complete opposite." Dona Clara chuckled again, a sound that carried both amusement and compassion. "That's what most people think, Andres. We're conditioned to see aging as a slow decline, a series of losses, of youth, beauty, vitality, even worth. But what no one tells us is that aging is not just about losing. It's about gaining perspective, gaining freedom, and yes, even gaining a new relationship with desire. Desire doesn't disappear with age. It evolves. It becomes less impulsive but more meaningful, less about proving something to the world and more about connecting with yourself and others on a deeper level. She folded her hands in her lap, her expression thoughtful. When I was younger, desire often felt like a storm, powerful, chaotic, overwhelming at times. But as I grew older, it changed. It became like a steady flame, burning quietly but brightly. I learned to savor it, to appreciate the calmness and clarity it brought. I discovered that intimacy could be more than just physical. It could be emotional, spiritual, a way of truly seeing and being seen. And in that awareness, I found a kind of joy that I had never experienced in my youth. Andresa's brow furrowed as he considered her words. So, you're saying that desire doesn't disappear, it just changes. It becomes something deeper, more intentional. Dona Clara nodded, her smile soft and understanding. Exactly. And that's where the beauty lies, Andres. Desire, love, connection, they don't belong to any one stage of life. They are part of what makes us human, part of what keeps us alive. What changes is how we experience them, how we embrace them. If we allow ourselves to let go of shame and fear, we can continue to discover parts of ourselves we never imagined. That's the gift of aging. It teaches us to listen, to feel, and to love in ways that are richer and more profound. Andresa's eyes reflected a newfound respect and admiration. But weren't you afraid? He asked quietly. Weren't you scared of what people might think, or even how you might see yourself? It's not easy to talk about these things, especially at your age. Dona Clara's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. Oh, Andres, she said softly, of course I was afraid. Fear is a shadow that follows us throughout life. When we're young, it's the fear of failure, rejection, the unknown. As we grow older, it becomes the fear of being judged, of being seen as less than. But one day, I realized something powerful. The greatest tragedy isn't growing old. It's living a life dictated by fear. She leaned forward slightly, her voice low but firm. The people who love you for who you truly are will never judge you for embracing your humanity. And those who might judge, they don't matter. What matters is how you see yourself, how you choose to live your life. I decided that I didn't want to spend my later years apologizing for my feelings or hiding my desires. I wanted to live fully, to embrace every part of myself, wrinkles and all. Her words hung in the air, and Andres felt them settle deep in his chest, stirring something he hadn't realized was there. You make it sound so freeing, he said, almost to himself. To live without shame, to embrace everything that makes you who you are. It is freeing, Dona Clara replied with a smile. But it requires courage, the courage to face yourself, to listen to your heart, and to let go of the need for approval. Aging isn't the end of anything, Andres. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you can discover who you truly are, without the noise and expectations of the world. For a moment, they sat in silence, the weight of her words filling the room. The sunlight streaming through the window cast a golden glow around them, illuminating the lines of her face and the thoughtful expression on his. Finally, Andres spoke, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Thank you, Dona Clara. I don't think I'll ever see aging the same way again. You've given me so much to think about. She reached out and placed her hand gently over his, her touch warm and reassuring. That's all I could hope for, Andres, that you think, that you feel, and that you never stop questioning what it means to truly live. Life is a gift, my dear, and it's far too precious to let fear or shame hold you back. As the afternoon sun began to fade, Andres felt a quiet transformation taking place within him. He had come seeking answers, and he had found something far greater, a deeper understanding of what it meant to live with courage, authenticity, and an open heart. And in that moment, He knew he would carry Dona Clara's wisdom with him, not just as a memory but as a guide for the rest of his life. As we bring this heartfelt journey to a close, let me ask you, what stood out to you the most today? Did you find yourself reflecting on the truths shared by Dona Clara, the courage to embrace your desires, the wisdom in redefining intimacy, or the strength to live authentically, free from the weight of fear and shame? Life, as Dona Clara reminds us, is a continuous rediscovery, and aging is not the end. It is a transformation, an opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and our connections with others. So, what is one thing you've learned from her story that you will carry forward into your own life? We would love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections in the comments below. Your insights could inspire others to rethink their own journeys and break free from the stigmas that hold them back. If this video resonated with you, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can continue exploring the stories and wisdom that make life rich at every stage. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.